We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Hello, and welcome once again to another fantastic hour of Leverage Your Score. My name is Tyrone Glover, and I'm your dress down CEO of Leverage Credit Recovery. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this Tuesday as we do what we do best, which is help you get to that next level. And helping you get to that next level is coming easier and easier and easier and easier. Is becoming easier and easier and easier. My apologies. And all we're doing is just having these 1 hour sessions, helping you with understanding what you are going to have to do, what you are going to have to do to find yourself in a much better financial situation. And if you are tuning in, if you haven't been tuning in, thank you for tuning in. If you have been tuning in, glad that you are back with us. But these are shows designed specifically to help the individual get to that next level. And we're going to keep doing it every single week, but thank you so much for coming out. Before I begin, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who bared with us over the last 2 weeks. We did lose a very important figure in our family. Our older brother had passed away. Your words of condolences, your words of support, your words of love and acknowledgement. We celebrate life here in the Glover family, so we celebrated his life, and we sent him to his final resting place in the utmost of manners. And I want to thank everybody for extending their heartfelt wishes and condolences. Thank you to my amazing crew who makes it happen every single week. Jasmine, Matt, Dr. Yana B, for just being the amazing support that anyone could ever want. So thank you to the audience, to everyone who, again, showed those that understanding. So we are greatly appreciative. We're going to continue where we left off. And where we left off was, this is a 5-part series show. 5 parts has taken us to get to where we are. So if you've missed the first 4, I'd like you to go back to the beginning of, we are now in June, so I would say the beginning of April, or we're in June, the beginning of May, or the last week of April, and catch up. Go back, review those shows, catch back up. This is a 5-part series, and it has been a joy to put this together. It's been a joy to watch the responses. I'm getting individuals who are seeing me in passing and saying, hey, you know what? I got this question, that question. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to either send us an email, send us a text. Help us help you with making sure that you are on that path to leveraging your score and getting to exactly where you need to be. Where we're going to start off today is policy advocacy. We need more politicians who are going to advocate for, and not just politicians. We can do this ourselves. But before I get started, I want to give a shout out to that creator, because without him, none of this would be possible. And also, if you haven't already, go ahead out there and say, hey, that guy's back on again. So send out that text, that tweet, that wherever you share your information to individuals, send it out there and let them know, hey, he's back on. All right, so here we go. We're going to be talking about the policy advocacy. What is it that we need to do to make sure that our politicians, and we equally, and I'm talking about politicians on a local level, I'm talking about politicians on a state level, I'm talking about politicians on a federal level. Policies can also help with making sure that we have equality. We may necessarily not understand how they are joined. But I can tell you right now, everything that we do is connected in some manner. And I know this is a financial literacy show program, and we primarily focus on financial literacy. But unfortunately, folks, it all ties in. It all ties in, and we got to do our part to make sure that you understand from start to finish. We are looking to make sure that individuals understand the basics all the way to the advanced understanding of how do you stay in control. I'm going to use Dr. Yana B, one of my favorite of all people. And if you haven't, it is necessary that you tune into Access Wealth Nation, because she's always telling us about stop being a sucker. All right, we need to know how money works. If you don't know how money works, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's not going to work any longer. In 2024, about to be 2025, a new generation is getting ready to pop up. And we are still doing things as if we was in the 1900s. We got to break these cycles. There's no ifs, no ands, nor buts. We have to break these cycles. All right, so here we go. Policy advocacy. Discuss the importance of advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities, promote fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities for African Americans. Oh, very important. These things have to happen. They have to transpire, because if they don't, guess what happens? Who is going to be the recipient of failed policies? And that's those of us who have yet to see growth in our understandings. And there's way too many individuals out there. I just wrote an article in my Substack, and I'm encouraging everybody to go back and check out my Substack. This article will be coming out. Just wrote it, and I'm now finished putting the final touches on it. But the others, the whole othering, we have a lot of othering going on out there, where we have one faction blaming the others, and the others are a large group, primarily Black and brown, primarily the poor, primarily the marginalized, primarily our seniors who are vulnerable, primarily our students who are equally vulnerable. We have to make sure that these things are guided by policy and also guided by our understanding of what we as individuals want. But policies can definitely help, and it's our job to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing. So, as I said, promote fair lending practices and support wealth building opportunities for African Americans. And policies will do that. Advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities, promote fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities for African Americans is essential for fostering a more equitable society. And here's why. But that word that I'm going to be more or less highlighting, and I need others to join on or get on board. Join the renaissance of changing the narrative through our usage of words. Oh yeah, I had to think about that one for a minute, but join the renaissance of changing the narrative through the uses of words. We got to stop using oppressor words and start using words that fit to the understanding of what it is we desire and what it is that we need. All right, equitable is a word that must take precedence over fair. Fair is not a word that we should be using. Equitable. Equitable. We need equitable understandings, because equity gives us the ability to do even more when we understand that the parties who are supposedly giving us what we need, they're doing it in a manner in which their bottom line won't be hurt, nor will I or ours. And that's why it's important to start revisiting some of the words that we've been using and understanding that these words may not have been applying. So it's really important that we get in front of what we thought was proper verbiage and start revisiting revisiting the lexicons, because the lexicon, the two that I know of, one of them has 170,000 words in it, another one has 180,000 words. So there's more than enough understanding out there that we can use to make sure that our audience, or the individuals that we are attempting to get that understanding into their hands, now they understand that we're taking these things serious. So here are some of the reasons. Why we need to be making sure that we have more equitable society. Addressing historical injustices. African Americans have faced centuries of systemic discrimination, including slavery, segregation, institutionalized racism. These injustices have led to persistent disparities in wealth, education, employment, and access to resources. Policy advocacy is critical for acknowledging and ratifying the historical injustices, and this lives on today. All right, let's talk a little bit about the injustices when it comes to education. We already know that there's the massive injustice when it comes to wealth. We already know that. We've seen it. We experience it. We've understood it. But what have we really, truly done to get past it? And I hope that these shows, along with other shows that I do, along with the shows that my colleagues do, that you slowly start understanding you have to take the reins and you have to hold these individual policymakers and advocacy individual groups, whatever they are, hold them accountable. If they're claiming that they're doing for us, then why are we not really reaping the benefits? There's a faction out there that I truly love. I truly have an admiration for CFPB, which is a Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. Love them to death. They have helped me become the better person that I am when it comes to being able to give valuable information to the public, but yet they fall so short in deliverables. They fall so short in deliverables. Appreciate them. As I said before, in many other circumstances, the CFPB came under the Obama administration with the assistance of Elizabeth Warren and obviously other administrative individuals within that administration. But the manner in which they do, in my opinion, has done, I'm not going to say as much harm as not having it, but you can clearly see that there's a lot of work within that organization that still needs to be done. All right, so we have to do our part then, which is make sure that we are versed, educated in how these circumstances have harmed you, and now educated in the manner in which how do you recover from. And this is important. Recover. We are recovering. Okay, we're not doing anything other than recovering from a lot of these disparities that have harmed us from generation to generation to generation to generation. Wealth is a generational thing. We may get rich, and a lot of us out there in trillion dollar economies will get rich. But my concern is, are we passing that rich down and making it and creating the wealth that we need to be able to pass it down from generation to generation? Next year, brand new generation. Are we setting that generation up for success, or are we going to continue to keep doing what we've been doing? Another area in which we need to break the cycle of persistent disparity is in employment. All right, minimum wage. Minimum wage doesn't cut it, folks. If we're not talking about a living wage, minimum wage is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. I know we got 50 states. I know we got coastal cities. I know we got Midwest cities. I know we have central cities. I know we have cities all over this wonderful, beautiful place that we call the United States of America. Yes, I still love home. I still love home. Still love it, even though, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was James Baldwin who also equally said he loves this country. So he's going to talk about it just as bad as he needs to. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but yes, I live that embodiment of James Baldwin. Grew up here in New York, so it's kind of unique that I get to share the almost the same stomping grounds that he has walked, and I feel it, I experience it, I understand it, and being able to dive deeper into his history has only made me, as I said, that much more of a advocacy, that much more advocate, made me that more of an activist, and really truly made me understand that there's much more work that I need to do, because our ancestors has already set the ball in motion. All right, so that employment piece has to. I work in a school where African American males are only 2% of the overall academia process, 2%. And our school has somewhere between 13 and 18%. We're not even meeting half of the percentile to even show our youth that, hey, you know what? There are people out there who look just like you. And we need them more and more and more in those academia spaces. We need them more and more and more in other spaces as well. But it starts literally from that K through 12 understanding. And then as those individuals have seen, and there's nothing wrong with learning from those who do not look like you. If you're a male, there's nothing wrong with learning from a female. If you're a female, there's nothing wrong with learning from a male. If you're Caucasian, there's nothing wrong with learning from an African American. And if you're African American, there's nothing wrong with learning from a Caucasian. There's nothing wrong with learning from someone of a Middle Eastern understanding. Nothing wrong with learning from someone who's from an Asian. There's nothing wrong with learning from anyone. You just have to be open to receiving what it is that they're teaching, and it needs to be of value. Needs to be of value. I was so impressed with watching my students this year that I'm super excited that we're ending the school year, no question, but I'm also super excited about how the next school year is starting to prepare for it already. But the employment, education, employment, wealth, these things tie in so much. And now we have to make sure that our kids have the access to resources. Resources. I'm a resource. Believe it or not, you're a resource. Facebook is a resource. TikTok is a resource. Instagram, all of these social media sites are resources. The question is, are they resources of value or are they resources of noise? And unfortunately, it's been seen and it's been proven that they're resources of noise. So we have to make sure that we're not telling our kids not to. We're not telling anyone not to. What I did this year is I did a screen time assignment with my kids, just to get them to hone in on, wow, you know what? How much time am I spending on these non-essentials, and what kind of impact is it really doing on my ability to grow as a person? So yes, understanding these persistent disparities in wealth, education, employment, and access to resources is only going to make us that much stronger as a nation. Policy advocacy is critical for acknowledging and ratifying the historical injustices. We have to do our part, and it's going to come through advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities from our lips, right? From those who are in the midst of. We can't keep allowing politicians to keep saying that things are so great or things are so bad. They're as good as you want them to be, but can they be better? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need politicians who are open to listening, open to hearing what we have to say. If they're not, then they're not doing you any good. Just had to have to say that. Closing the racial gap. The racial wealth gap, closing the racial wealth gap. The racial wealth gap between African Americans and white Americans is staggering and persistent. Advocating for policies that promote fair lending practices, such as ending discriminatory lending practices and expanding access to affordable credit. It is vital to closing this gap and creating greater economic so that it's, again, looking at how this is laid out in that manner. Advocating for policies that promote fair lending practices. Why? How is that so challenging? You would think that it wouldn't be challenging, but yet it is. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand. It's greed. Greed, power, and control. Greed, power, and control. If you can keep a certain faction down or under or claiming that they're living above their means, then they'll never strive to exceed or excel. But it is definitely our time. It is definitely an opportunity out there for anyone who is seeking to create the lifestyle that they truly, truly want. I tell it to my students all the time. You can have what you want. You have to do the work. That's it. Regardless of the policies are on our side or not on our side, you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. It's nice to have the policies and the advocacies and all of those factions that make it happen, but I'm going to tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter, hundreds, thousands, millions. We can get what we want. We just have to be a bit more strategic about going after and making it clear to those that we're not here to play around any longer. Not at all. Fair lending practices should not be something that you have to fight for. This is something that's a simple understanding. You got a job. You may have had some hiccups in the past. Well, we're not going to let past credit misfortunes continue to hamper us. You can go to prison. You can go to jail, and you can come out and you can get your record expunged. But when it comes to the financial situations in this country, it seems like you are going to be in financial purgatory for the rest of your days. That's not going to happen any longer. It's not going to be something that we're going to continue to allow happening. Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, the worst three entities on the face of the planet when it comes to making sure that we can close this racial wealth gap. They're not doing what they should be doing. They're more partnered with the businesses, along with having Congress or elected officials who are invested in these entities. And me personally, nothing wrong with being invested in it, but you have to decide. Are you invested in the bottom line of your bottom line, or are you invested in making sure that these entities are doing as the requirement of them to be even a business? And when it comes to credit, we need partners. We need partners. We need individual entities that understand, yes, you're going to do for the business, and you're also equally going to do for the consumers. You have a dual role to make sure that the business is doing what it needs to be doing so that it's not harming consumers. And this is where Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian have fallen short with the assistance, sad to have to say this, of the CFPB, with the assistance, sad to have to say this, of the Attorney Generals, with the assistance, again, sad to have to say this, of the FTC. There's a lot of groups out there that promote wellness, but unfortunately, they are equally set up to delay, prevent, hinder, while they're claiming that they're doing for the people that they're helping. And it's really sad. It is very, very sad. But how do we change that? How do we close this gap and create greater economic parodies? Well, we create it by having the conversation. We create it by making sure that closing the wealth gap is a priority. We change it by promoting economic mobility. Systemic inequalities such as unequal access to quality education and employment opportunities hinder economic mobility for African Americans. Policies that address these disparities, such as investing in education and job training programs, can help break the cycle of poverty and create a pathway to upwards mobility. Not hard at all. Not hard at all. Economic mobility. We need to see ourselves growing every single day when it comes to our financial understanding. And I'm pleased to say that we have secured us a location where we're going to be expanding upon this very, very understanding. Economic mobility. We're going to be doing some workshops. We're going to be doing some boot camps. We're going to be helping our youth and, again, adults as well. I came here with the understanding in 2015 that I wanted to make sure that adults had what they needed. I learned the hard way that adults are grown because you can't really tell an adult what to do. And I've learned also equally that it's not about telling anyone what to do. This is about suggestions. This is about recommendations. This is about making sure that you have a trusted authority out there that you can turn to regardless of your ethnic background, regardless of your political affiliations, that you can turn to someone who's going to help you find that economic mobility. Poor does not know color. It doesn't know color. If you are Caucasian and you're poor, you are Black and you're poor, you're Asian and you're poor, you're Middle Eastern and you're poor, you're European and you're poor, it doesn't know your color. It just knows that, hey, you might still need some assistance. And this is what these shows are all about. We are going to, if it not be in this election cycle, the next election cycle, but at some point with the education that we're delivering, we're going to break these cycles. And those who want it are going to find out that, hey, you know what? I'm glad I went that route. I'm glad that I decided to stick it out and make sure that I have all of what I need. Not all, obviously. We're not going to be able to give you everything, but we're going to give you as much as we possibly can. And through policies, I'm speaking now clearly to our elected officials. Policies. If you guys are not up for the task, I would strongly suggest that you step to the side. If you've been doing this for 30, 40 years, nothing wrong with that. I'm not an ageist. I'm not anything about anyone who's been at a particular understanding. But I think it might be time for you to reevaluate who are you truly helping. Are you helping the citizens or are you helping self? Because if you're helping self, I think you might want to find something else to do because now you're not a public servant. Think about it for a little bit, folks. Think about it. It's okay. It's all right. Do we need individuals who are about our well-being or do we need individuals who are about their bottom line? And I would have to honestly say we need people who are about helping individuals because, as I said, $1 trillion economies, your bottom line is going to be taken care of. If you understand how money works, your bottom line is going to be taken care of. We need to now make sure that our youth, our most vulnerable, our seniors, we need to be making sure that those factions who have already done and those factions who are getting ready to do have a stable foundation to operate more successfully. Creating these educational platforms, creating these job training programs is what I'm advocating for. And we're going to be doing it this year and beyond. We've been doing it already, but we're going to take it to that next level. And I'm super excited with the programs and the academic understanding that we're going to be able to bring to our community and to our neighbors, right? Just because I live in New York, New Jersey, you're not going to be left out. Just because I live in New York, Connecticut, you're not going to be left out. Just because I live in New York, California, you're not going to be left out. All 50, you're not going to be left out because why? We have the World Wide Web. We have the World Wide Web. We're more connected than we ever have been. And as I'm moving through, I'm going to put it out there. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. We're on StreamYard. Go ahead and drop a question or two in there. If you have something that you want to share, we're on YouTube. And if you have something that you want to share over in the YouTube space, please, by all means. And we're also on Facebook. So if you have anything that you want to share, a question that you want to add to the conversation, please, by all means, go right on ahead and do that. All right, go right ahead and do that. Make it happen for yourself because we are here to address the concerns of all citizens. All citizens. As I just said, poverty knows no color. I live in an area that is, and I'm going to say it, one of the wealthiest communities in this nation. But we have situations here that are, in my 10 years, in my 10 years, almost about to be 10 years, because next year is my 10-year anniversary, and I can't wait to be able to share with you what I'm going to be doing next year. Oh, my goodness. There's nothing that a politician, there's nothing that a business or anything that's going to be able to tell me. I've been back here 10 years, and the growth that I've seen here is abysmal. Not just that I've seen in Yonkers, but that I've seen collectively is abysmal. We have the wealthiest getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. We have the poor getting poorer and poorer and poorer. We have politicians who are all about greed, power, and control, while citizens have to figure it out. Well, those days are over. Those days are over. 10 years of being back here, and as a corporate America executive, you don't give a company 10 years to start then deciding, oh, now I need to make some course corrections. No, in a company, you give them 2. That first year you go in, and guess what you do in that first year? You observe. You sit back and you watch. You sit back and you make a minor adjustment here, a minor adjustment there, but you primarily do that with personnel. But when it comes to those systemic large changes, that's done in year 2. That's when you already know, hey, you're a good fit or you're not a good fit. You're a good fit. We're going to make some minor adjustments to make you even a better fit. But as we all know, there's only one leading actor or actress. One. You have a major supporting cast. So I think it's now overdue time that we find that one lead and then start making sure that the supporting cast is there to help as well. Let's create an Oscar award-winning program so that we can do what we have wanted to do decades ago. We may not have had the mobility, or we may not have had the understanding of how to do it. But now, what stands in our way other than us? That's what stands in our way. And it's overdue time. Overdue time. As I said, I'm old enough to where I have seen $100,000 companies turn into $1 million companies. $1 million companies turn into $1 billion companies. And there, again, we just watched one company that surpassed NVIDIA, surpassed Apple as the number 2 most wealthiest company in, at least in the United States. And if I'm not going to, I can say it, in the world. Microsoft 3.7, if I'm not mistaken, 3 point something. How about that? I won't go to the exact number, but $3 trillion. NVIDIA just made 2 in some change. Apple is number 3. We got all of these trillion-dollar companies. How do companies become trillion-dollar companies? You think it's just selling their products? Absolutely not. It's understanding how money works, understanding how compound interest works, understanding that working together creates the wealth that we want to have. And that's what we're here to do. Promote equality versus just being okay or having fair. It's not going to work any longer. It's not. All right. Building generational wealth. Wealth building opportunities such as home ownership, entrepreneurship, and the access to capital are essential for building generational wealth and economic stability. However, African Americans have historically been excluded from these opportunities due to discriminatory policies and practices. However, listen to that again. African Americans have been historically. Why? Why? Do we just get comfortable in our own unfortunate mishaps? No. Policy has made us or has put us in these uncomfortable situations. And a lot of us don't know how to get out of it. So we accept the no versus challenging the no. And with Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, with banks that claim that you're unbankable, with credit reporting that doesn't do its full due diligence, with entities like the CFPB, like the FTC, like attorney generals that have not really dived deep enough into making sure that when they give a response, that they don't just close out the ticket with just one response for the company. These companies have been getting away with murder for decades. And now individuals like myself are going to challenge these entities to do even more of what they're supposed to be doing, even more. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I've been, as I said, I'm a staunch advocate for our citizens, poor, marginalized. And I like to say the working poor, the marginalized, the full-time working homeless. Now think about that category for a second. Our most vulnerable, seniors, those who have given and given and given and given and given and find themselves on fixed incomes. For our teachers, firefighters, police officers, all of those occupations out there that have 401ks that don't understand, well, I got this 401k and I've had this money going into these financial institutions for all of this time. And now I'm finding out that I'm only getting back 2 and 3%. These CDs and these Roth IRAs that are not paying out nothing compared to what, as I said, I already now know and understand. Thousands of percentages are being made every single day. And a lot of these companies that call you unbankable should not be companies. They should not be operating because of how they're deceiving, how they're stealing, how they're plundering and taking your wealth, or shall I say, our wealth, understanding of being able to build better opportunities through home ownership. If you can rent an apartment for $1,700, you can own a home for $1,700 as well. If you've been doing that for 15, 20, 30, 40, if you've been doing it for a year or two, and it shouldn't be held up just on your credit. We already know that the credit reporting is a farce. It has not done what it was supposed to do, because if it had, we'd have way more individuals within the home ownership. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be a homeowner. Also in entrepreneurship, we got a bunch of talented youth. And how do I know it? Because as I said, for the last 10 years, I've spent an abundance of time with our pre-K through 12. I've spent a ample time with our advanced higher education, because I get to see those 12th graders 2, 3, and 4 years later as they come back and tell me, hey, Mr. Glover, you know, the things that you taught me in high school, we're not even learning that in college. This is the things that I hear every single day, that they're not even learning a fraction of what we teach them or what I've been coaching them on. And I like to use the coaching word because it's less intrusive or scary, because a lot of us don't like to be taught. We go to school, we do what we need to do in school, but a lot of us, again, if you see what I see, you'll probably understand what I'm referring to. And I'm not going to say that there are so many people who don't like the teaching element. I love the teaching element. I think it's phenomenal. And I'm great that I'm part of a school district that allows for individuals of my background, which is corporate America, to come into our schools and help our children with that transition. You're leaving an academic process. You might be going into a higher academic process. And it's nice to be able to send you off very well prepared. It's also nice if you choose not to go into that academic process, that you go into an entrepreneurial process. Well, it's nice to be able, as I said, send you off. And also equally, if you're deciding to, which I am as well, a veteran, it's nice to know that if you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to see if I can build my understanding through the military service. Whatever direction you choose to go, we need to make sure that these hysterical disparities through policies and practices are no longer hindering our youth from these opportunities. Access to capital, trillions of dollars, and you need to have 850. Get out of here. I'm sorry. 500 is good enough. Equifax TransUnion Experian might not think it's good enough, but somewhere is a start. And if we educate, foster proper accountability and responsibility about how to manage your money, teaching individuals the importance of how money works, that's going to change the way that we understand, think about it. And it's also going to give us the ability to, as we said here, build generational wealth and create economic stability. It's not that hard, and we need to be more inclusive. Advocating for policies that promote equitable access to these opportunities is critical for creating a more inclusive economy. Trillions of dollars, trillions, for those out there promoting and saying, oh, the economy is bad, the economy is so horrible. The economy is not bad. If I'm not mistaken, 1896 is when the Dow first was introduced at $40. The Dow just in the last 2 months had broke 40,000. So how is it doing bad? NASDAQ broke records. S&P broke records. How is it doing that? Oh, we just got a bunch of individuals that don't believe that prosperity needs to be passed on from one to the next. They believe that it has to stay up here. And then again, what did Ronald Reagan introduce? That trickle-down economic situation that has not and will never work. All right. I'm not here to talk about politics, but I am going to interject for just a second. We got two individuals, one who's for making sure and another one who's for questionable understandings. Whoever you vote for is whoever you vote for. Whoever you believe is going to do what they need to do, but you yourself have to understand something. You put the wrong person in there, and it's going to have a detrimental effect on not just for that moment, but it's going to have a detrimental effect for decades to come. And if you haven't seen it or experienced it, think about our Supreme Court that took away Roe v. Wade. Think about our Supreme Court that is now having to weigh in on whether or not a president has immunity. Our Constitution is our Constitution. And it's important that we expand the Constitution, meaning may, if necessary, add more amendments. But we can't keep living in 1800s. And you know what I'm talking about. We can't keep living in these way back in the times. We need to make sure that situations are more equitable for today. Back in time, it's nice to know, but seems like we're repeating history. We got to break these cycles. We have to break these cycles. And part of breaking the cycles is equally promoting social justice and equality. Right? Economic inequality is closely intertwined with social justice and equality. Advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities not only promote economic justice, but also advance broader goals for social justice and equality. It helps create a more just and inclusive society where everyone has an equal opportunity to thrive. Equal opportunity, equal opportunity, equal opportunity. Right? Need I say it one more time? Equal opportunity. We're not looking for handouts. We're looking for helping hands, because if you are an entity that has the ability to donate, give of your expertise, why not do that? Clearly not saying it for free. Let's not do anything for free. Let's do it with an understanding that our reward is not necessarily going to come from the recipients of our information. Our reward is going to come from a much greater, much higher power. But that still doesn't stop or negate the fact that we still have to do our part. We need to be more inclusive. Social justice, making sure that we have the dignity of work, making sure that we have the dignity of being able to communicate more effectively where individuals are not feeling that they're being attacked. But what I've seen over the last couple of months, over the last couple of years, and as I said, my 10-year anniversary is coming up next year. I can't wait to unleash. I've been doing that already, but I've been very quite reserved. But after this next year, there's the gloves are going to come off. There are going to be a lot of angry people at Mr. Glover, and it's okay. It is okay, because the truth is the only thing that truly hurts. The truth. And all I'm going to be doing is dropping truth bombs on anyone and every entity, starting with our credit reporting agencies. Moving nicely along, and I can't wait. I'm hoping that Congress at some point realizes, hey, we got an advocate out there who probably needs to come down here and be able to school them on a lot of the things that are not happening. But I'm looking forward to it. But as you can see here, we got to promote social justice and equality. It's about equality, folks. We need equitable situations so that individuals can see their growth, so that they can experience that growth, not just for a short-term windfall, but for things that go on far longer than just the moment. This is not a moment. This is a movement. And that's how we need to focus on it. Not just the moment. Onesies and twosies, that's not going to work anymore. We need to start making sure that the collective body all understands the importance of that social justice and equality. Equal opportunities so that all can thrive. Stimulating economic growth, addressing systemic inequalities and promoting wealth building opportunities for African Americans isn't just a matter of social justice. It's also good for the economy. Closing the racial wealth gap and ensuring that all communities have access to economic opportunities can stimulate economic growth and create a more resilient and prosperous economy for everyone. Isn't that what we really want? I would say yes. I would say we definitely want to close racial gaps, ensuring that all communities, African American communities, Hispanic communities, Caucasian communities, Asian communities, Middle Eastern communities. It doesn't matter if there's aliens on here and we don't know. Let's focus on the Martian community. Joking clearly, but you get my point. Inclusive. We need to create communities that are inclusive. We're already living amongst each other in that manner. We have more racial situations, meaning of African Americans and whites, Hispanics and African Americans and Asians and Middle Eastern. We have so many different dynamics going on, but yet we still seem to keep thinking that the othering is taking more of what is mine. No, if we are a nation of, then we should be inclusive, not exclusive. This othering topic that as I mentioned earlier, that is part of my Substack series, and please, I'm encouraging everyone. Substack leverage credit recovery. That's all you gotta do. No, excuse me. Substack Tyrone Glover. Substack Tyrone Glover. And you'll probably find out, wow, this guy's pretty smart. In conclusion, advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities, promote fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities for African Americans is essential for creating a more equitable and inclusive society. It's not only a matter of economic justice, but also a fundamental step towards building a more just, equitable, and prosperous future for all. Let's say that one more time. Building a more just, equitable, and prosperous future for all. Did I say for just African Americans? Did I just say for Hispanic? Did I just say for Black and brown? I said for all, every single last one of us. We need to stop promoting what politicians and this great divide that they've created, what they want. We need to start making sure that they understand, as public servants, you're either working for us or you're not. And those who do not, y'all need to step to the side. And it's okay. You've done your job. You've done whatever it is that you needed to do for your bottom line, because clearly if it's just about your bottom line, then you're not a public servant. So those of you who, and we will be calling it out next year. We're going to be calling it out this year. But as I said, next year, that 10-year anniversary, oh, Lord, y'all better watch out. Y'all better watch out. So in conclusion, folks, what I'd like to summarize key points, reiterate the importance of financial literacy, community empowerment, policy advocacy in addressing the credit disparities and promoting economic empowerment within African American communities. If we do that part, financial literacy, community empowerment, and policy advocacies are critical components in addressing credit disparities and promoting economic empowerment within African American communities. Financial literacy, that big one. Are you literate? Are you financially prepared to do what you need to do? Educating individuals about financial concepts such as budgeting, savings, investing, and credit management is essential for empowering individuals to make informed financial decisions. All right, that budgeting piece is critical. Knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going out, and knowing what's left over to do what with. And what's left over, yes, should you be saving it? Absolutely. But you should be saving it in a manner in which your return is of significant understanding. Because as I said, what I know about what's happening in that saving space when it comes to financial institutions, oh, we're being hosed. Oh, we're being taken advantage of. Banks don't have their own money. Banks use our money. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, back in the 1500s and the 1400s, yeah, you had these rich people who started banks. But as they got bigger and bigger and bigger, guess whose money they were then using? Our money. All right? Our history is no mystery. Banks make money off of us, the consumer. There's law of population. You don't have to be that bright to understand that. Law of population. Off of the investing piece. Again, knowing I'm investing, but what type of return am I getting back? Right? 4%, 5%, 7%, knowing that they're making thousands of percentages per day. They're not doing that much maintenance. They're not doing that much when it comes to, they're letting that money work primarily off of how the system itself works. But if you don't know how the system itself works, you're going to be subjected to the smallest amount of return. And unfortunately, 401ks have done that. CDs have done that. Roth IRAs have done that. Financial institutions that claim that they're there to help you have taken advantage of you. Credit management, understanding that you need a partner when it comes to managing your credit properly. And we don't have partners. We have predators. Okay, sad to have to say that. We don't have partners. We have predators. Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, banks that do not do what they're supposed to do. These are predators. We have allowed for a third party, or excuse me, a third method of banking to emerge. And that's predatory lending. And banks should be appalled at the fact that they've allowed for their profits to now be going into another area that is undeserving. But banks are happy making their trillions, and so is the predatory lending process as well. Happy making their billions, if not trillions, as well. So it's really important that we focus on that financial literacy piece, because educating individuals about financial concepts are important, right? By enhancing financial literacy within African American communities, individuals can better navigate the financial system, build wealth, and improve their economic well-being. Community empowerment, empowering communities through economic development initiatives, entrepreneurship support, and access to resources, fostering self-sufficient and resilience. By investing in community-led initiatives and supporting local businesses, African American communities can create economic opportunities, generate wealth, and address systemic inequalities from within. That's how it starts. You start within. You start making sure that you are putting good things in to generate good results. Everything about what we're talking about is the same thing that you do for your body. Take them vitamins. Take those necessary supplements that are going to help. I keep hearing everything good about, oh my goodness, I can't even think of it right now, but it's a green bottle and a red bottle. And the commercials themselves have, as they promote it, it's amazing. I can't think of the name right now at this particular moment, but they say these vitamins and natural vegetables and things of that nature have helped. And I think it's important that we think about our financial situation in that same manner. Good things in yields better results. Balance of nature, I think that's what it's called. Balance of nature. All right, so policy advocacy, advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities, promotes fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities is essential for creating a more equitable financial system. Equitable financial system. If your bank isn't working with you, then you need to find a new bank. Don't think that anyone who's not doing what you need them to do, you have to stay in that relationship. There are better opportunities out there with an online bank than dealing with the corporate America structures that have been set up, these brick and mortars. If Bank of America or Chase or Ally or TD Bank, if they don't want to work with you, don't work with them. Send them a clear message too. We don't need them. They need us. If we create the banks that we need in our communities, then our money will stay in our community longer than 6 hours. That's an African American understanding of how long our money stays in our community versus other ethnic group where it stays in somewhere up to 21 to 28 days. All right, that's policy right there. We need to focus on lending practices and support wealth building opportunities is essential for creating a more equitable financial system. By advocating for policies that dismantle discriminatory practices and expand access to economic opportunities, African American communities can level the playing field and promote economic empowerment for all. Again, I'm going to constantly keep emphasizing, I'm not saying just for Blacks. I'm not saying just for Hispanics. I'm not saying just for Caucasian. I'm not saying just for Asian. I'm saying not just for Middle Eastern, for all. We are the United States of America, even though more than ever we seem like we're the divided states of America. But that's only through policy. That's only through politicians. That's only through the deplorables. Those who think that we are not worthy of the same stability that they have. And those types of individuals are going to find out that what's the word I'm looking for? That the jig is up. The jig is up. You snake oil salesmen, you carnies, those of you out there who have been capitalizing off of our hardships, the jig is up. We have caught on. And now that we have caught on, we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that everyone has that economic power, has that economic power to continue to keep growing. All right, we're about 5 minutes out, and I was hoping that I'd get a question or two. But since I didn't, I want to thank you all. Not finished yet. I'm just letting you know I got about 5 more minutes. If you do later on, go back and review this and take a look at, please, if you have a question at that time, do not hesitate to send it right on over to Leverage Credit Recovery. If you are unsure how to get there, again, send it right here through Soul City Network, right here on Facebook or YouTube. I'm always available and open to having further discussions with anyone who is, again, wanting to take their situation to that next level. That's what this is all about, folks, making sure that you have what you need. In summary, financial literacy empowers individuals to make informed financial decisions. Community empowerment fosters economic self-sufficiency and resilience, and policy advocacy addresses systemic inequalities and promote economic empowerment within African American communities. Together, these efforts are critical for addressing credit disparities and advancing economic empowerment within African American communities. Not just African American communities. This could help all communities, If we focus on our inclusiveness instead of our exclusiveness, we'll probably find out that, wow, there's more than enough to go around. So, as I always say, any questions, any understandings? I'm opening the floor for questions and discussion. Remember to use visually engaging graphics. This is me just highlighting the importance of what a PowerPoint presentation should look like. All right, but I'm opening the floor too, and if you want these slides, I'll be more than happy to lend them out to you. As I said, this program here is a free program. It's here and designed to help you. Those of you who are already doing what I'm doing, hey, I don't mind sharing my information and my love and my understanding. I'm going to do that. I'm going to always make sure that those who want always have. But the floor is open for any questions if anyone has a question. If not, what we're going to do is we're going to spend that last 3 minutes. So we've opened the floor for questions and discussions on the topic we've covered, including financial literacy, community empowerment, policy advocacy, economic empowerment within African American communities. Feel free to ask any question at any time you have or share your thoughts, perspective, and experience. You have today, you have tomorrow, you have all week. I can I can be reached at, as I said, right here on Soul City Network, on Facebook, on YouTube. I can also be reached through a variety of other means that I have. Your insights and contributions are valuable for fostering a meaningful dialogue on these important issues. Just a few more points to consider. Financial literacy. What are some key concepts you believe are critical for individuals' understandings? How can we improve financial education and literacy within African American communities? Community empowerment. What initiatives or programs have you seen effectively empower communities economically? How can we encourage and support entrepreneurship within African American communities? Right, policy advocacy. What policies do you believe are most impactful for addressing systemic inequalities and promoting economic empowerment? How can individuals and communities effectively advocate for policy changes? Economic empowerment. In what ways have you seen economic empowerment positively impact African American communities? What strategies do you think are most effective for promoting economic empowerment and closing the wealth gap? These are just things that I think it's important that you ask yourself. And if you have anything that you would love to share, please do not hesitate. Feel free to share your thoughts, ask questions, or engage in discussions with these topics or anything else related to promoting economic empowerment within African American communities. Let's collaborate to explore solutions and create positive change. All right, so what did you think? Your opinion does matter. We want to hear from you. We enjoy hearing from you. And how do you get in touch with us? Well, there you are. Many thanks. Drop us a line. All right, drop us a line, 805-428-9424. Our email is leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. And we use the website, or we use the link tree. Our website is still under construction, but we use the link tree, and the link tree is amazing. So that is link tree, Leverage Credit Recovery. Thank you. As always, I am so greatly appreciative of the ability that I get to, or the opportunity that I get to show my ability of how versed I am in this subject matter. I am dedicated, I am committed, and I am about making sure that you have what you need. I want to thank you so much for making the time. Again, thank you so much to everyone out there for your warm condolences and wishes for the passing of my brother. I so appreciate you all immensely. As I always say, America,